Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
Join us as we explore the prize inside, looking at holistic health and extraordinary human potential.
Hi there.
Hi there.
The Prize Inside, a podcast dedicated to holistic living and unlocking your human potential.
All right, welcome everybody. Tonight should be an exciting one. Welcome to the Prize Inside, the 1% Tribe edition. Tonight we're talking about it's our night, usually Sunday nights. We have several different categories that we go through. The ones that we like the most are thoughts, toxins, trauma, right? So the thoughts, toxins, or trauma, when we relieve our body, if we let our body, work without those interferences with bad thoughts, bad toxins, bad traumas, then a lot of times you can have really, really healthy, vibrant life. So with that said, tonight is about the beets, and there's a very specific reason for the beets. The beets are a superpower food, that is for sure. But it just turned like 40 something degrees last week, finally in Michigan. And so Rachel and I's head is spinning on the garden aspect of things, like what are we going to plant and all of those kind of things. And we know in our garden, beets do fantastic. When you find out they're actually a superfood that most of us are paying way too much for, in the supplement category. And if you don't have access to the beets, then absolutely it's something. But tonight we're going to learn how powerful they actually are. And maybe it will, because they're so easy, in the sense of in Michigan, especially, maybe if you don't do a full garden and you just do these beets in just a dirt area, it might be worth your time and getting used to those, right? So some ways that beets are taken are phenomenal. Others, some people can't stand them. So with hopefully tonight, I will show you why beets should be a staple of our diet. And so before we get started, I want to make sure that everybody remembers to follow us at tribe1.substack.com. So tribe1, I'll put it in the description area. So tribe1, if you type in tribe1.substack.com, it gets you onto an email newsletter list. We have been taking, like, on our herbal nights, a lot of times I'll have some recipes at the end. On there, I'll put, for my newsletter people, we'll have like a transcript of this that you can keep. And then if you miss something, like dosages and all those kind of things, then you'll want to. Wendell, thank you. Good. I'm glad you got out here, baby. Hopefully you'll like it. But yeah, so as you go, tribe1.substack.com is a great place to be the newsletter. You can watch us on the Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on YouTube, Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble. Any of those would be fantastic. So now that we're done with the crazy part of that, I got some exciting news. I have 2 interviews, 2 different kind of schools of thought. One is on grains and flours, which is an expert in understanding that. So it'll be fantastic. I can't wait for that. That'll be like, I think it's a Wednesday night. And then I'm working on another lady named Mary who went through some miraculous stuff and shows the power of true healing. So I can't wait. I love doing the interview aspect of things too. That's one reason I like the podcast part. It's not just to hear myself speak. It's to, get rolling and get to meet all the ones that have the incredible stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go right into some beets. Here we go. So the beet goes on exploring nature's blood pressure buster. Okay. So this one, just remember, there is a ton of information on top of just blood pressure. Yes, the beets we're gonna go through how and why that beets could be a very powerful situation for you in that category. But there's so many other things, and that's why I want you to know that. If you can't try to get that stomach down, the beets. I'll give you a couple of really good ones. Julie, oh, good. Yes, so easy to grow. So Julie says you are right. This is a great topic. I agree. The beet. I was thinking this the other day. I was like, we're going down all these herbal ones, and they're great. But I really want to change your diet. I want to change who we are, like what we pick up. Maybe with your knowledge base, you pick up a few more beets and make a salad with a little bit of that, right? And if you know the medicinal properties, it makes it that much more energetic too. And so beets are nice. They're very good. Okay. So what we're going to go over tonight is that we're going to go over the medicinal properties of beets that you grow in your own garden, right? So that's the beauty. What is it with the powerhouse? Why do they keep calling it the powerhouse? And we'll talk about that. Different ways you can do this, right? So if you're not a huge beet fan in a lot of ways, there's a lot of other ways to do this. Okay. Some great recipes at the very end. How do I think it fits into our 1% tribe and how to do that, as we go. And then hopefully we'll understand the best times to use it too. So that could be a thing. Okay. All right. So here we go. So the breakdown of beets' medicinal benefits. Okay. So beets are also called Beta vulgaris. They are a nutrient-dense root vegetable packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and bioactive compounds, which we'll go into, but like nitrates. Remember this word, betalanes is kind of a newer one, and polyphenols. While often called herbal in a broad sense due to their traditional medicinal uses, they're technically a vegetable with evidence-based health perks from scientific studies. Here is a key breakdown of their benefits supported by research. I think I moved this. Okay, yeah. So let me do this first. So when I was writing this, I kind of saw that I needed to talk about something first. Okay. What you're going to hear about is this thing called nitric oxide. Okay. NO2 nitric oxide is a huge one in the supplemental world. In almost every weightlifter's category, you're going to see nitric oxide. In every heart condition or heart person that's taking nutritional, you're going to run across nitric oxide. That's why I want to go through nitric oxide first, kind of give you a little breakdown, because the beet is like the number one nitric oxide, basically stimulator producer in all of the stuff you could possibly take. That's why beet powder has been starting to become this huge one for athletic performance. Okay. So nitric oxide, they have it in everything. And now they're or they do it all these supplements. You go to GNC, if you got a great athlete in your family, beets are the way, right? And so that's what we're going to go through. So that's what this this nitric oxide, when you hear that word, okay? So I had to throw that in there. Nitric oxide. It's a simple, this is what it's interesting too, because it's a simple colorless gaseous molecule with the chemical formula NO. It's compound of it's composed of one nitrogen atom and one oxygen atom. It's actually classified, this is crazy, but it's true. It's actually classified as a free radical because it has an unpaired electron, making it highly reactive, but it's really short-lived in the body. It only lasts seconds to minutes. In the environment, nitric oxide can be a pollutant, car exhaust, industrial processes, and toxic at high concentrations. However, inside the human body at low controlled levels, which is what we're going to talk about, it acts as one of the most important signaling molecules. So it's a molecule that tells the body something new to do. So it tells it actually that's what the signaling would be. It's often called the chemical messenger, and it plays key roles in many physiological processes. Its discovery was by a vital biological. Its role was one. This guy, what's his name? They found he got the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1998 for researchers who identified the endothelium-derived relaxing factor that had to do with a lot of this nitric oxide. So before we go on, there's this little word in here. So its vital discovery as a vital biological molecule led to a Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1998 for researchers that identified it as the endothelium derived relaxing factor. So what they're saying is when you hear endothelium, right? These are cells within your body. So we have these cells in our body. And a lot of times when you hear NO2 or a nitric oxide, what it does is it signals your body to create relaxation in your arteries. If you create relaxation in your arteries, the blood will start to flow through. The blood's being able to flow through areas, right? Allows more oxygenation. And so that's really a big deal when we have this this nitric oxide, and then finding out that the beet is one of the biggest ones. And we'll find out through this thing called betalain that it helps with nitric oxide. It produces, it's short-lived, but it's one of these. Remember how everything, when you hear it on the news or articles in the nutrition world, you don't want to hear free radicals. Free radical, that's why you always kind of watch what of course, most bad free radicals you want out of your system. There's lots of different free radicals. This is one of those examples of the free radicals actually really good for your body. It actually helps signal to cause better circulation throughout the body. So that's why one reason why beets are so profound in what they're doing. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So this is how it's produced in the body. So the body makes nitric oxide mainly through two pathways. The enzymatic pathway via nitric oxide synthase enzymes, which convert into amino acid L-arginine, which is another supplement that people use, into nitric oxide. There are three main types of nitric oxides. Enzymes, or not nitric oxide synthase, endothelial, which is what we talked about. This nitric oxide. So what this is, let me see if I can explain it. So each of these places that we're going to talk about is where nitric oxide can actually have an effect. So the first one is going to be in the endothelials of your blood vessels. So when the body's produce this nitric oxide, it goes in, it tells the endothelials of your blood cells to relax. Okay. So that's what that is. Okay. Neuronal, which is another one that the nitric oxide can actually affect. And we'll go over where that is. and then in actual immune cells as well. So you can have 3 different places where nitric oxide is utilized with this nitric oxide synthase enzyme. Okay. So there's also this thing called the nitrate pathway. Dietary nitrates, like foods like beets, leafy greens, and other vegetables, are reduced to nitrites by oral bacteria, right? So we want to eat that and then further converted into nitric oxide into the body, especially under low oxygen conditions. This is why beets and beetroot juice are so effective at boosting nitric oxide levels. They're one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates, which your body efficiently converts into nitric oxide. One of the best is beets. There's almost nothing better than that. So remember that. And what is the number? Here's a big one. What is the number one health system that we probably have the most things happening with? I would say your cardiovascular, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you think it's up there? It's up there with maybe arthritis or something. But your cardiovascular system's pretty stinking important to do. That's one reason why the beets, when they came out as this big supplement and people were paying $100 a month for their beet green, their beet powders and stuff, they're feeling better. They're feeling a lot better, especially if they got a really good one. So nitric oxide, big deal, right? For my weightlifters, my people with like heart stuff that they'd like to, take a look at, like as far as we don't like in the 1% tribe, we're not here to try to heal. We're trying to create a better system. We're trying to create a better cardiovascular system. We're trying to create a better, okay? That's what we do. Okay. So here is the big thing. This is what I wanted to get in there before we talk about beets and even more or deeper there. These are the key functions of nitric oxide, okay? Big supplement I get asked a lot about is this nitric oxide. Okay, so nitric oxide's effects are widespread because it can easily diffuse across cell membranes. Huge because it's a small molecule. Its primary roles include vasodilation, like what we talked about, relaxing the blood vessels. This widens arteries, improves blood flow, lowers blood pressure, and enhances delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues and organs. It's crucial for cardiovascular health and helps prevent issues like endothelial dysfunction. Here's the next one: athletic performance and exercise. Increased nitric oxide improves oxygen efficiency, reduced fatigue, boosts endurance, and supports muscle power and recovery. Immune response, which makes sense once you hear this it's increasing blood flow, right? So immune system, it helps immune cells fight bacteria, viruses, and even cancer cells. It can act as a pro or an anti-inflammatory, depending on the context. That's what nitric oxide does. Okay. It helps be what they call a chemical signal, right? It's a chemical signal for your body. It's not it's not a bad free radical. Let's call it that way. Neurotransmission. Neurotransmission is in the brain and nervous system. Nitric oxide acts as a neuromodulator, which is regulating and make sure the nerves are working correctly, influencing learning, memory, and nerve signaling. Some other functions they haven't totally put the science to yet, but it looks like it supports hormone release, insulin and growth hormone, wound healing. Erectile function makes sense because of the relaxed blood vessels, okay, because of the better blood flow. And then regulation of inflammation and cell death. So that's pretty cool. So just understanding why beets are tonight is because I want this in your diet. I really want this in your diet. However you get it there, pickled to however, we need beets in our diet. And they're so easy to grow. When it makes sense to quit paying somebody and like just put them in the ground. Okay. I just let you know that. Okay. All right. So here we go. So for cardiovascular health, beets are rich in nitrates that convert to nitric oxide, which relaxes the blood vessels, improves blood flow, and can lower blood pressure. Studies show this is where I wanted to bring this up again because you want to see the studies. Studies show beetroot juice may reduce systolic and diastolic blood pressure, potentially decreasing risks of heart disease and stroke. So, this is something you and your doctor could work on, right? So let's say you have a medical doctor and you're on a lot of different cardiovascular type things like blood pressure medicine. This is something you and your medical doctor could say, hey, I want to take a good regimen of beets and I want to see where my blood pressure ends up. Maybe it's a thing you could do. I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm not claiming to be a medical doctor in the pharmaceutical sense. So that's between you and your doctor. The biggest thing is understanding if you're taking some of those pills, that maybe, fixing your cardiovascular and your blood vessels with a little beet juice might not be a bad idea, especially every day. See, that's the difference. That's what I'm pushing tonight. Okay. Athletic performance. Let's talk about that because this one's the interesting one that I've never heard anybody do, and I've known it for a while. Oh, by the way, everyone, my tea of choice tonight. I don't know if beets would be a good tea, but this is a red raspberry dried, mixed with other berries. Oh, it's so good. This is the one I've ran out of the most. But I figured it's garden season, so what the hey, right? So teas are pretty good. I don't know if there's a tea out there with beets in it. If anybody's watching, let me know if you know of that. That might be a good way to do it, because it does taste sometimes sugary, actually. All right. So here's how it does athletic performance. The nitrates enhance oxygen uptake and efficiency, which is kind of cool, delaying fatigue during exercise. So it actually gives you more stamina. Research indicates beetroot supplementation can improve endurance, muscle power, and recovery, especially in aerobic activities. One of the things I'll tell you about that is they sell nitric oxide in all the places like GNC, all these places where bodybuilding supplements. And one of the reasons I do this show is to show you where most of it's coming from. It's this little pack, might be $2 of beet seeds in your hand that you can literally put outside and get as much, if not more, than the supplement you just bought for. That was used to, when I looked at it the last time, it was like $80 for like a thing, and probably last year like a month or a month and a half. $80 for something that's so easy to grow and it's so good for you. It should be just try to make it part of who we are, right? And that's the biggest thing. Okay. So hopefully this is making sense to you. So antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. This is what I wanted to talk tonight about. This thing called beta-lanes. You're going to hear about this and like knowing how far ahead of the game we are in our podcast. I bet you we'll hear like 7 people talk about beta-lanes after I'm done. I'm just kidding. I'm not that popular, but this is cool. So beta-lanes acts as a potential antioxidant, reducing oxidative stress, DNA damage, and inflammation. This may protect against chronic conditions like cancer, liver, kidney damage, and metabolic issues. Big deal. Okay, so inside, not only do you have the beet create this nitric oxide situation that is really good for your body, very short-lived, gets your cardiovascular system going, but now it has another active ingredient, just like we've had. Think of in turmeric, you have your curcumin, your curcuminoids, right? Makes that yellow. And then you have to have your pepper, your piperines to make it even more active. So all of these things have active ingredients within the plant, right? Beta-lanes is one of those elements, right? It's another section. Not only are you getting nitric oxide, which is as a bonus, you get this beta-lanes. And beta-lanes, anytime you take oxidative stress away from your body, you're doing well. in the toxicity realm. Okay. So let me explain this. A lot of the times there's a lot of things that are beating on our bodies cells a little bit each day, right? From the electromagnetic frequency coming off this computer is hitting my cells, right? Causing this stress, this oxidation to happen. Okay. Eating processed crappy foods, all of these things lead to toxicities that if we combat them ourselves with supplements, vegetables, foods that are anti those or create like help the body recover from those, then you're doing your job as as innate intelligence needs you to do. Innate intelligence knows it's going to take some hits, right? It's going to take some hits from our environment from outside. How do we we could go crazy and try to live in a bubble. That could be a thing. Or we can start, putting the fuel in that'll make us that much different. And betalain sounds like it's a nice oxidative, helps with DNA repair. A lot of these things, when you hear those as supplementation, especially when it's a cheap food, not just a little bit. This is like an easy food. Okay. You start adding that to who we are, to our kids, who we are, it's going to be amazing. Okay. All right. So this may protect, right, from chronic conditions like cancer or kidney or liver damage and metabolic issues because it helps with these. This betalain is a huge antioxidant that helps reduce the oxidative stress, reduce DNA damage, and the inflammation. All right. So here's some digestive and liver support that we need to talk about. And I'm going to stop it here for a second to talk about a little story on this. Digestive and liver support. High fiber content aids digestion, while compounds like betalain support liver function and detoxification. So the betalains, again, is helping with liver function and detoxification. Let me tell you another story of how I've used this actually clinically. Okay. I had a lady, bless her heart. She's passed since, but she is a doll. She's in her late 80s. I've been seeing her for years for her back, and just comes in, little adjustment, smiling all the time. Her back would hurt, then we'd fix it, those kind of things. One time she found out I was getting into this nutrition and herbal side. And so she said, Jeremy, and she knew a lot of things. As she would say, she knew a lot. Some people think they know a ton. So they just self-medicate once in a while. So this is one of those situations. So she comes to me and says, hey, I really have trouble going number 2, going poop all the time. I have major trouble. I go, what's major trouble? Like, how many times do you go a day? Oh, honey, I go once a month. I go, what did you say? You go once a month? She goes, oh yeah, once a month. I've been talking to my medical doctor about this for about 3 years, and we haven't been able to find any answer. And my jaw dropped. Of course, as a chiropractor, I'm like, there's 2 things that you get lucky, right? When a patient brings something up like this and they've been working with a medical doctor, I kind of know what the medical doctor's already done. So we don't have to start at day 1, right? So I said, okay, what kind of laxatives are you? She showed me she was on, the only thing that got her to go once a week was her MD had to get her on 4 times the adult dose of laxatives every day. And then she might go once a week. This stunned me. I didn't even understand. I still, to this day, don't understand the physiology of how this is even possible. But it was real because I talked to the doctor about it. I talked to the medical doctor. I'm like, that's got to be. He's like, it's a wonder. I don't know. So anything you got, let me know. So one day I told her and this was more of me not understanding the nitric oxide side of things, right? one day, but I'm really into juicing. I really like getting a juicer, doing that once in a while. Don't do it as often as I would like because of the mess. You got to clean up everything. It's crazy. I want to get like an industrial juicer or something where you take a hose, because every time you make like one juice, it's like you got to take it outside in an industrial use anyway. So we got to come up with an invention that makes that quicker. But with this juice, I had this one that just absolutely makes you do all the alls, and it was beet, carrot, apple. Okay, so beet, carrot, apple has a lot of good nutritional value there, right? But I knew about the beets. The beets will get things moving, and it hits and it activates. I personally think that because of the nitric oxide that the beets actually get going, that allows the blood flow to the liver, right? To the liver to really produce. Once that happens, that the beta lane that's in there kind of activates that liver to really work. And it could be a really nice bowel mover, right? And so she went home, did the beets, just did regular beets. She was like, I'm not liking those, but I was like, get some, some canned beets or something, and just throw it on your salad or something, right? So it was about four or 5 days later, she comes to me and she goes, "That is a miracle." She started doing, she just was doing like one canned beet a day, right? Like nice. She's like, I started liking it. I'm going every day. Now, that's pretty amazing. It was little. It wasn't like crazy what you normally should do is like number two. However, that was a step in the right direction. And me and the medical doctor just started going nuts, because this is prior to me understanding the gut bacteria and the gut microbiome that I would have done with her at that point. Knowing what was going on was bigger than just, that the laxative. Laxatives are great. You got to get it moving, whatever, right? But something's causing your system to not function right, and we have to figure that out. And there's several organs within the digestive system, not just your gut bacteria, not just your liver. There's lots of stuff. And so, but with her, it took off. So one thing that we didn't go over, beets could be a major bowel corrector. And the way it's going to do that is, I'm guessing it's the liver function. So just to let you guys make sure you understand that. Nice digestive support, because the rooty vegetable has so much great fiber in it. And remember, you have to have great fiber to have good gut bacteria. Okay. So I digress. Sorry about that. Cognitive and other benefits. Preliminary evidence suggests that beets may improve brain blood flow and cognitive function, plus offer anti-tumor activity by inhibiting cell growth, which is fantastic. So those are some good evidence. And you already know what it actually does. You got nitric oxide and this beta lane stuff. That's worth it by itself right there. Okay. So that's why I love me some beets. Beets are the best. I'm going to give you one story. Had a pretty special, ginormous birthday this week. But one of the stories that I always say is true. Because I'm so old, I remember when I was a little guy, my dad saw when I was really tiny that I was enthralled with the Popeye the Sailor Man cartoons. Popeye the Sailor Man would come on, and I couldn't stop watching Popeye. I can't believe it. Popeye and his girlfriend, all those, right? So I'd watch them all the time. Well, one of the things that my dad would say is like, hey, if you want muscles like that, you'll eat this. Well, he would take beet greens and just boil them, right? So just boil them in a thing. I don't know if he put the beets in there. I'll have to ask him. But you just take the greens, that part, boil them, and then we would put them in a bowl, and he'd let me put as much ketchup as I wanted to on it, and I would tear that up. Why? You think a kid my age, when I was like 4 or 5, was going to really do that on its own? No, I wanted Popeye arms. I wanted to be that strong. So I got so good at it. It was one of when I became when I started getting into athletics, it was one of the staples that I had to have. I was kind of a OCD kid. I had to have certain things. Before I went on a football game, I had to come home, even though some kids stayed after, and did that. I'd come home, get an egg sandwich. That was the big thing. My dad would make this egg and mayonnaise sandwich. I don't know why the egg thing, but now I understand it's probably the B1, maybe some beet greens, and then I'd take a little 20-minute nap and then go back to the school. And I swear to you, it was like a getting ready for this stuff. Now, was it the beet greens? Maybe it was some beta-lane in just the greens itself, right? Don't know, but it's going to be a really good thing. Okay, so I digress. But Popeye the Sailor Man, one reason I love me some beets is because of the beet greens. And if it's a kid, let them throw as much ketchup as you want. As long as they eat it, it's all good. All right. Okay, so now let's talk about some ways to take it. Okay, so we want to really focus in on different ways to take beets. Lots of good options. Okay, so it's not going to be too tough to understand how this goes, but I want you to know dosages because that helps a lot. Okay, recommended dosages focuses on achieving nitrate intake for benefits like blood pressure reduction. For beetroot juice, studies suggest 70 to 140 milliliters, okay, about 1/3 to 2/3 cup daily, or up to 200 to 800 milliliters for major pronounced effects. So about a cup a day, you're going to notice a difference in like beetroot juice itself, okay? And then often, if you want to just do it for the effects, you want to do it from between 1 and 4 weeks. Remember, you don't have to do this all the time, but if you make it more consistent, you'll get better results. For the powder type supplements, it really takes is 3,500 to 7,000 milligrams or 1 to 2 teaspoons per day is common to get the actual, what they call medicinal effects. Okay. As a whole food, aim for 1 cup of cooked beets or 1/2 cup juice daily to start. Monitoring tolerance and always begin low to avoid side effects like beeturia, red urine, or digestive upset. Remember, with beets, what did we go over? It's going to touch your liver, okay? And it's going to give you a lot more oxygenation. So what happens is sometimes, and I've had this, if I go without beets for a while, your gut will be like, it might mess with you a little bit. So you want to build your tolerance up to be able to do it. What's your body doing there? It's activating this liver that hasn't been activated. Is it a bad thing? No, we're trying to actually get this right. Sometimes when your stomach hurts, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, especially if we're going in the right direction. Okay. So some people react the moment their belly kind of hurts because they're eating something different or better for them. There's a lot of stuff we got to reset the system. We got to remember that. So your pee will be red. There's no doubt about that. So that's going to happen. It's the gut upset that happens based on the liver being active a little bit more. Okay. So the ways to consume it are the juice. You can get fresh or bottled for quick nitrate absorption. And of course, remember, in a juice form, it's going to really absorb fast. So that's nice. So this is good. Like, let's say I would do a beet juice if I'm going to go do a workout, right? So this is something I didn't think about before here, but I'm starting my exercise routine tomorrow, and I'm going to try to find some beet juice to take prior to the workout because remember how the nitric oxide works. It'll probably get you better up there. You can blend it with fruits for taste, of course. Cooked a really good way to do it because of the nice fiber that's in there. You can roast it, you can boil it, you can steam it. It gets those flavors more concentrated, so you better know if you like beet, if you like it. Raw beets are pretty cool. Raw beets grated in salads or smoothies adds that fiber to it that's really good. So if you have that toleration there, it'd be fantastic. All right. So in a powder supplement, which is probably, I understand because it's probably a hard one to dry the supplement, but it's pretty, it can be pretty pricey as a powder supplement. But you want to mix into drinks or yogurt for convenience, right? So those are something. I do a green supplement. It's pretty pricey. And so like as you go, I'm going to do a beet one as well if I don't get my own beets. But we're going to go through tonight how to do that. Incorporating it in regular dishes, soups, dips, and you can do baked goods for variety. There's a ton of ways to do beets. One of the cool parts is the beet sugar. So a lot of times I don't know how to do any of that reduction down to like beet sugar is one of the only alternatives to fake sugar or from real sugar that I'll even let you do. In our office, we have these little suckers and they use beet sugar, instead of regular sugar. And you can tell because it's one of those, the kids really, really like them. And the reason is because it's real sugar, right? They don't need a lot as much of that versus the fake sugar suckers that they have all over the place. Okay. So there's those, but here are some recipes. Let's talk about them. This will be kind of fun. And this is the one that I found this one. And this is the one Rachel oh, you got to try that. If you haven't tried this one, you should. It's worth it. I don't know. Rachel's just that good at all these kind of recipes, but roasted beets with olive oil and herbs, a basic side that enhances beets' earthy flavor. You preheat the oven to 400 degrees, peel and cube 2 pounds of beets, toss with a little tablespoon of olive oil, salt, pepper, and some fresh thyme. Wrap it in foil, roast it for about 40 to 50 minutes until it's like tender where you want to do that. Drizzle with a little balsamic, for a little extra tang. It's not that big a deal on the calories. It's only 150 calories per serving, but antioxidants and fiber. And now nitric oxide and betalain. All right. This one looked really good too. So I wanted to put this one in here too. Balsamic beet and goat cheese salad. So you mix roasted beets from above, so the ones we just did, with mixed greens, 4 ounces of crumbled goat cheese, chopped walnuts, and a dressing of 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and honey. Gently toss, and that's about 200 calories, but there's so much in there that does it boosts heart health with the nitrates and the healthy fats with all those nice oils. Remember how the oils are working. If you take it, a lot of times with olive oil, it's if you cook it, you reduce it, making it not good for you. But if you take it as like a salad dressing where you don't, and you basically have raw olive oil, it's phenomenal for you. It's one of those good fats. Okay. All right. So here's another one that I thought was good. Beet and berry smoothie. You blend 1 cooked beet, 1 cups of mixed berries, 1 banana, 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, and a splash of almond milk or regular milk if you'd like. Add spinach for extra greens. It actually tastes really, really good. And you don't have to worry about the beets like banging you because of the banana and the berries. Okay. So a lot of times people go, oh, it's so gross. If you get the too much beet taste, it'll knock you out. So that one's a really good one. And just start with toleration of beet level. And then pickled beets is what we're used to around here because they're so delish. Quick pickled beets. Boil 2 pounds of sliced beets under tender, 10 to 15 minutes. Pack in jars with a brine of 1 cup vinegar, 1 cup water, a half a cup of sugar, salt, and spices like cloves. Refrigerate for 24 hours. And I'm going to tell you, one of my exciting things, Julie, I hope you're still on. I think I got my fermentation experts coming. That's another one of my cool interviews that's coming. And fermenting beets is a really good way to get into beets or into fermentation as well. Okay. Very quick fermentation because it has so much sugars that are in it. Okay. So if you're not a big sauerkraut person, look up fermentation of beets. That might be your way to go. You can have a lot of good probiotics with that. Okay. Okay. So now the last part I wanted to show you guys is how to make your own beet powder. I know it sounds nuts, but it's something that's important. I wanted to look it up because I am doing this podcast not for you. I'm doing it for me. And I didn't know how to do this. So we're going to learn it together. That's how this works. Making your own beet powder or beetroot powder at home is a straightforward, cost-effective, and lets you preserve the nitrate-rich benefits of fresh beets for smoothies, supplements, recipes, or just natural coloring. The process involves washing, prepping, dehydrating to remove all the moisture, and grinding the beets into a fine powder. The big thing is, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. You'll end up with a vibrant pink-red powder that stores really, really well. That's why I wanted to go over this. If they grow so well, we need to learn how to process them and make them. And I think beet powders are the way to go because you can use that all winter, and we're going to talk about it. Make sure you got a dedicated area because you are going to ruin whatever these suckers touch. That's one reason why they're so expensive. I'm guessing it's the process. So keep this away from your house. Figure out a way to do this because your hands will be stained for 8 days, all those things. So wear the proper stuff because it's beets. Okay. It's going to cause those. We do not need red dye everything. Okay. So how do you do this? You take fresh beets, give the best color, and they start with like 2 to 5 medium beets for a small batch. But 3 to 4 often makes like makes a pretty good amount of powder. Okay, so you reduce it pretty heavy. You can actually add to it lemon juice or citric acid during the drying process, just to add a little. It helps preserve too. Sounds like. And the equipment, you want a knife or a peeler, a mandolin, or a food processor for slicing, shredding. You want a dehydrator, probably, right, or an oven. Or you can do it outside, whatever, right. Rachel told me we've never used our dehydrator well. Rachel does it with our herbs all the time. I got to grab that next time. She's got sage. She made a big old dried thing of sage. It's like fantastic. So all the herbs are coming off, and we're putting them away, right? Preserving them now for the next season. But so blender, spice, grinder down to those to get it down to a coffee powder, but you need to dry it first. Okay. Well, let me walk through that again. So after you've dehydrated them, you use a blender or a spice grinder, or like a coffee grinder type, to get it down to that powder level. And then you use an airtight jar for storage. Very simple. It's just getting it so dry because they're a big, heavy root. So you want to make sure you get it really, really dry before you do stuff. Okay. Okay. Oh, I forgot I put this in there. That's one. All right. Wash the beets thoroughly under running water to remove the dirt. Peel them, optional. Leave some skin on for extra nutrients, but peeling gives it a smoother, a nicer powder. Cut off the tops and the roots. For even drying, slice thinly, about 1/8 of an inch or less, using a mandolin or a knife, or grate them with a box grater or food processor. Thinner, the more uniform pieces, the faster the drying, right? And then you dehydrate the beets, spread the slices or shreds into a single layer on the dehydrator trays or baking sheets. Avoid overcrowding, right? Just like doing the drying. Using the dehydrator method, it's best for color and nutrients, and you set that sucker to 125 degrees, and you can do it for 8 to 14 hours or until completely crisp and brittle, no moisture left. Check periodically. Time varies by thickness and humidity. Oven method, if no dehydrator, preheat to the lowest setting of 150 to 200 degrees. Ideally, you could also go up to between 150 to 180 for brighter color. Prop the door open slightly for airflow. Dry for 6 to 12 hours. Flipping and rotating the trays halfway to make it may take longer, so be patient to avoid the browning. Sun drying. If it's in a hot, dry climate, spread them on the screens and cover with netting. Takes through 2 to 3 days. The beets are done when they snap like chips and have no bend or moisture. Okay. All right. That is awesome. Hopefully that will be helpful. It'll get you started. On our 1% tribe, I always look for the thing, that I'm going to do. And one of mine is definitely adding beet juice to, my daily routine, plus learning how to dry these suckers. Because in our yard, man, we get a lot of beets. Like every time the seed falls, we get a friggin' beet. And why not? If you go look at how much nitric oxide is in the store, and then you tell me if it'd be worth drying some beets and having them in your food. Okay. All right. So grow some beets. That's my first thing. I don't care how small an area, just put some beets in the ground, pull them up, start eating them, however you do it. Okay. Check with me, see if, how it's going with all those kind of things, how you feel. I would like to know that. And that's the biggest thing is tonight was really fun because we're kind of off. We don't need everything to be just herbal specific for like conditions, right? The innate intelligence wants our whole body to kind of like do its thing. We want to eat superfoods, right? So I'm going to do a section and we're going to do that as well. We'll add it to it to make sure that we're talking about all these superfoods, especially ones that we can grow really well. So, there's so many good ones out there. And that one, along with the sweet potato, I'll tell you that sweet potato's got a ton of good stuff in it. But those two just by themselves, starting making sure that's part of who you are every day. Imagine if your cardiovascular health changes and it's just on beets. Here's what's crazy is I know it's going to happen because about 10 years ago, when the first infomercial came on that was like super beets, that made massive changes in a lot of people. And back about 10 years ago, I wasn't paying attention that much to the mind control, infomercials that are occurring. And now that's one reason I got the herbal thing. So I'm like, okay, this is what we can do versus, always relying on the next infomercial to tell us how to live. Right. That's what my goal is. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it tonight. I appreciate you as always. I'll see you Wednesday night with Whole Health Weekly. It'll be about 8:30 though. I'm going to make sure I'm going to go back to that 8:30 time frame. I was trying it at 7:30. For me personally, I'd rather do the 8:30. So, but if you like any of this stuff, make sure you're liking and subscribing on Rumble or YouTube for the prize inside a chiropractor's journey. Make sure you get on, and I'll have those recipes available if you get on tribe1.substack.com, become a newsletter subscriber. It would be fantastic. And with that said, you guys have a great night.